So now that we have a general idea on how we want to handle the state tree with the zombies, we want to go ahead and start with the implementation. So that way I can go ahead and kind of do the more, I guess, beginner friendly approach, which is going to be kind of another little overview on how state trees work by actually making something happen. However, we do need to do something first. So by default, there is not actually going to be a controller associated with the zombie pawn. So even if you in the zombie pawn added the AI controller class to be this AI controller, they are not going to have a controller. So if I press play, we can see in the outliner, we have the BP player controller, which automatically is spawned and used to possess this player pawn. There is no zombie AI controller or anything really anywhere. So we need to make that happen. So let's go to our zombie game mode and go to where we spawn the zombie. So by default, let's actually go to blueprint. There is a spawn AI from class. And this here is different from spawn actor. It basically just kind of defaults, setting the behavior tree and such. But it also does some additional work, such as setting the controller by default. So we can do this ourselves very easily. So when we spawn the zombie, we just want to spawn the default controller. And that's it. So now we can close out of the editor and simply recompile and relaunch. And this will basically spawn the zombie, give it the default AI controller class that we specified. So that way the AI controller can then start running the state tree and all of that stuff. Okay, once we are back in the editor, if we press play now and wait for the zombie to spawn, we can start seeing that we have some zombie AI controllers. So they are spawning alongside the actual pawns, meaning our AI controller can run its logic. So to begin, let's go to our state tree and set it to use the zombie AI state tree that we made in the previous overview example, which basically has nothing, and we can delete the go to barricade. So we just want the one state of find and attack player for testing. Next up, we do not have a navigation mesh for the zombies to actually know how to navigate this terrain and level. So we want to add in a navigation mesh, so nav mesh bounds volume, and let's just set it to 0 out for the location. So right there, and extend it on let's do the X first. So I want it to go mostly to the other side of this hole, which it is, and I also want it to go out to about here, which is as far as the AI will spawn out here, and it is. So now we want to let's just do the Z. So we want to get it to cover this area, so let's press P to visualize, and bump up the Z in the brush to be just a little bit above this platform. So now that we have that, let's check the height. And it is not quite low enough because we need it to go basically down to this bottom here. So we need to lower it. So there's the line at the bottom. And let's try bumping it up some until the line is pretty much at, the bottom. And I'm just going to go ahead and make the x-axis quite a bit bigger so I can actually see it hitting down here. So it needs to go a tiny bit bigger on the Z. So it's covering this bottom. It's covering this bottom as well. And now we just need to do the height. So let's bring in the y-axis again so we can visually see where we're at. And we just need to go ever so slightly higher. So we're going to go up a little bit and then bump this up by, say, to 1230. No, we need bigger than that. Let's do 1300. And we can go a tiny bit bigger, so 1350. And that'll give us plenty of height in addition for this top floor. So let's bump the x-axis. Let's just give it up to a round number, so 12,000 I think is a good enough value. And bump up the y again, just to make sure that it covers this bottom, which it does, and it gives us a little bit of extra headroom. So height-wise, we are good to go. Now we just need to figure out how wide do we want it. So this is obviously quite wide. So I want it to go just behind these hills here for where I will have the spawn points. And same thing behind the barricades here. That's actually a little bit far. So I'm going to shrink it a wee bit and move it to the left instead. So it's still behind those, and we still have a fair bit of room back here to spawn them. All right, so that takes care of that. And now I just want them to also be able to walk over top of these, what do you call it? These hills here. So I could make it to where it honestly has the entire top covered for height, which is not a bad idea. And we can also basically duplicate and make another one. And as you can see, that other one will also cover this section. So I'm actually going to stop being picky for height. I'm just going to make it cover the entire thing. And my logic here is if it has a problem, we will see a problem. So let's make it cover the entire top like so. Make sure it still covers here, which it does not. Let's go down a little bit and back up some. Okay, so it covers that. And it is very close to covering that. So now it's covering the hill. Okay, so it's just big enough to cover the hill and reach down there. I don't know why I'm being so picky. So I'm going to do 1800. And then 14,800 for the Y, just so we have nice round values. All right, so I wasted way too much time, more than I should have, doing that. But now we are at least ready to go. So we have our AI controller. It's set up to run our AI zombie logic. Now what we want to do is we want to create the find and attack player logic. Now I want to do this in a separate state tree. So I'm going to make a new state tree. So AI component schema and call it st underscore. Let's do zombie find and attack player. So now that we have that in the find and attack player state, let's change the type to linked asset and linked asset to be find and attack player. Now basically all this is doing is it is running a second state tree like so. So it's going to run everything inside of here. Okay, so I had to pause to take a phone call, and I have not exactly an idea of where I left off, but I was here, so I'm assuming on the concept of states and tasks. Okay, so we're set to run this task here. So what we want to do is I want to start covering the whole concept behind states and tasks and kind of get moving with that. So one of the other concepts is going to be the concept of a context. So to begin, let's go ahead and just add a state. And this one here is just going to be a simple find player. All right, let's just do find player to attack. So the first thing we need is a way to find a player. Now, this is going to be done via a task. So what we can do is we can make a new state tree task by going to blueprint class, search for state tree task, and we have state tree task blueprint base. So st task underscore, let's call it find player. Or let's actually rename this to find closest. So find closest player. So we open that up and we have some overridable functions. So we want a enter state. So when we start the task, we're going to run some logic, such as finding a player. So let's go back to our state tree and add that as a task. So the first task we want to run is going to be find closest player. And why did that rename itself? So find script. We'll do find and move to player. So we did the first part. We ran the task to find the closest player. So what we can do after that is move to that player. So there is by default a move to task, and one of the things is a target actor. So this will basically be the actor we want to move the AI to. And as you can kind of see, there is, another context variable here, which is the AI controller. And we have, this whole concept of we can pass in these contexts, actor and AI controller and all that stuff, which are over here. But what are they? So how do we get, how do we call this task get closest player and have it pass in that closest player to the target actor? And that's going to be done through what I believe are called like input and output context. I'm not sure if they're actually considered context or not, but just like we have these two over here, we have the actual actor that is going to represent the zombie itself, and we have the controller for that actor. So the controller for the zombie, which is BP Zombie AI Controller. We can do very similar stuff in our tasks. So what I mean is, let's say we want to pass in the zombie actor to this task. So we have a starting location that we can get the distance from each player to find the closest player to that we are to. So we can add a variable and let's call it, let's make it generic. So let's call it owning actor and make it of type actor. Now, if we by default do nothing, we can see there is nothing here. However, if we set it to instance editable and expose on spawn, we can then add it and set it to our actor. So basically our owning actor is now going to be the zombie pawn. But I don't want to do that either. What I'm going to do is uncheck these and instead set the category to be input. And now, as you can see, we have the same thing. We have owning actor, and it shows in as in a input. Well, it shows right there, input property. So we want to set this to actor, so our zombie pawn. Now, how do we find the closest player and return it? So we can, get our owning actor. We can find the distance. What is it? Distance. Yeah, get distance to, and just loop through all the other players and, try to find which one matches. We're going to end up doing something similar at some point. But how do we get output, that closest found player? It's the exact same kind of thing. We add a variable. Let's call it found player and just set the category to output. So let's go ahead and go back and you can see we have found player and it is a output property. So now that we have an output property, if we go down here to target actor, we can bind it to our as state tree task, find closest player, found player. So we now bound the target actor to the found player. And this order of operations does matter. So we want the closest player, so find closest player to run first. Then we want to move to that closest player, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do in this is simply, for now anyways, get all actors of class, and we're just going to grab the very first player pawn. So let's run a get, and we're just going to get index 0 and set found player to equal whichever pawn. I was about to say pawn, really, really weird. Whichever pawn we found first. And then in theory, we should just move straight to it. So we have our state tree task to run. This is running that task here, or sorry, that state tree here, and we should be just good to go. So let's press play and wait for the zombie to spawn. And it did spawn, however, nothing is happening. So let's make sure they do have the AI controller. Zombie AI controller, which they do. And this might be that issue I think I mentioned where this tree might not actually be starting correctly. So let's uncheck start logic automatically and instead grab the state tree AI and call start logic. So we'll call that on begin play. I don't know if we need a delay or not, but let's give it a try. Okay, so that's not doing it. Let's add a simple 1 second delay and try it again. Okay, so as you can see, after that second delay, they are now running towards us. And we ended the round. So, in which case, they're going to start spawning and chasing us again. So we need to make another fix for this because I do not like it. But if memory serves right, I can't remember if this is a engine bug or something like that, but it is obviously a slight problem. But regardless, this runs only server side, so we're not too worried about it. So let's do a walkthrough of how this all works. And then in the next video, we're going to go ahead and start kind of fleshing this out. So we have our state tree AI component, and by default, we are simply setting the zombie AI state tree to it. And then after a delay, we start the logic so it actually, runs. So here in the state tree, we have our find and attack player state, which simply runs another state tree. This way we can keep this nice and organized and have, two states, go and attack barricade and find and attack player. So in the find and attack player, we have another state, which is find and move to player. And then what we want to have happen is once this state has completed, we are going to move on to another state, which is simply attack. And then we're going to perform our attack, and any player that the attack hits is just going to simply have their health be reduced by, I think it's 50 or something like that. I need to triple check. And then we're going to continue running the logic again. So after we, let's do our attack player. So when the find and move to player state finishes, so on state complete, we move to attack player. And let's actually change this to on state succeeded. So once everything has been successful, we go to attack player. And once we have attacked the player, you can see this little arrow here pointing back to the root. We're going to go back up to the root. So we attack the player, then we want to find and move to the player again. And once we are, within a tolerance, we attack the player. And we keep repeating this cycle, basically until the zombie has been killed. So that's the overall setup that we're going to be using for now. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below, where you can also get early access to this entire series.